Thank you, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here and meet industry talents like you guys. And before I start, I'd like to make a brief introduction of us. As everybody knows, data is one of the key factors that drive the success of the game industry. So data is where we're focusing on. On talking data, we're from China. We are currently China's largest data service platform for mobile game and mobile applications. We have been helping tens of thousands of developers and publishers in China to track, analyze, and optimize their business based on our big data technologies. And we also have established solid partnership with the big giant guys like Punchbox, Winestone, 91, and those big guys in China. And recently we have released our core product for game analytics. We call it TalkingData Game Analytics, which is a totally game-focused analytics platform that helps the developers and publishers to track the key metrics data in real time, know their players better, optimize their game design and mechanism better to monetize that better to eventually get maximized operational ROI. Here is some of the screenshots of the platform. For my presentation, I would like to start with sharing some of the recent data about China and some of the facts we've seen recently. First is about the size of the market size of mobile game in China. It's been amazing rapid growth rate nowadays, with around 40% on a yearly basis, and it is expected to reach a 10 billion RMB market in the year of 2014. So we believe that the high growth of the market bring a lot of great potential opportunities for everybody in this market. And if we go inside see some inside data of the game industry in China, we found some interesting trending. First is the movement from the standalone game into the online game. We took a look on the top rankings on the grossing chart on App Store. We found the standalone game are just fading out, and the online game are dominating the top rankings. And if you look at the proportion of different types of games, we found that mid-core and hardcore games, like a strategy or RPG, etc., and extra, they're becoming the developers' favorite game types, and they're growing very, very fast. Another interesting findings that are from a study of the new player retention of different type of games, which we've done since Q3 last year. We found standing out of the desktop type of game, which includes chess, casino, and card games. So the number of this type of game is much higher than the other types, which give proof and explanation of today's fever of card battle game. Nowadays in China, everybody's talking about card battle game. The miracle of P&D. Anybody are playing a P&D here? Puzzles and Dragons? Great. So the standalone game have lost their competency, and everybody's turning into free-to-play. And mid-core and hardcore online game will definitely be the next wave, we believe. And the fever of the card battle games are a good example of that, because they have very strong monetization mechanism. Along with the opportunity, there are also great challenges ahead. I can also share with you some of the numbers from our study. Take Android platform, for example. There are around 110 apps installed per device, and in China, around 15 of them are mobile games. More than 20% of them are open only once. The user afterwards either delete it or never comes back again. And the market is getting crowded, which results that the engagement for each individual game is dropping fast. These can be reflected by the retention trend for each individual game for new players, as well as the daily time spent for each individual game by the player. So the crowded market boosts the fast increasing of cost of the player acquisition, and we strongly suggest that the developers and publishers move your eyes from the user acquisition, especially in China for the type of free-to-play game, to the engagement of your core players. And how to do that? You should focus on the quality of your gameplay and the ongoing optimization of your operation. So how to do that? I think the best answer is to become data-driven. The reason behind this does not need to be explained anymore, but instead we'd rather to share some of the practical tips and advice. To adopt a data-driven process, the first thing you need to do is adapt a metric system. A good metric system will work along the entire conversion funnel of the operational life cycle, and will define comprehensive definition of all the key metrics that are necessary to measure the health of your game. At TalkingData, we have built up a metric system. We name it as AARR model, using the initial letter of the key of the name of the key stages along the operational life cycle for a mobile game. It starts with user acquisition to understand where your players are from, what is the most cost-effective channel for your to get high-quality players, and then activation to help you understand if your players like your game, are they adapted to the core gameplay mechanism, and the retention, which is kind of the core of the whole system, and is relatively more important for the game, free-to-play game, because it reflects the engagement of your game and drives the conversion of your IEP. And then revenue for the monetization process, and then refer to reflect the viral attributes of your game. A good metric system is not just a set of metrics. It means a lot more than that. We've been talking with a lot of developers and found that for the same metrics, quite often, they will have different definition and calculation method on their own. So this brings a big obstacle for them, for their data to make real sense. So we've taken a great effort working on the standardization of the definition of the key metrics and the calculation method of all the key metrics. And we delivered and completed things by release a white paper called the White Paper of the Definition for the Key Metrics of Mobile Game Operation. And this can be downloaded on our website. With standardization of the key metrics done, benchmarking can be enabled. And this can really help your data generate valuable insight. So a metric system help establish a kind of concept infrastructure. To take the concept into practice, you need to find the right tool to power you up. A good analytics tool can really power you up with the real-time capability tracking of the key metrics, which is a must-have for the mobile game developers or publishers. You have to react quickly to the changes of the market and the customers' needs and wants. Beyond that, a good analytics platform must provide a systematic approach to help you generate actionable insights rather than some data dumps. The functionalities like cohort analysis, cross-dimensional data drill down, user segments, and A/B tests, and things like that. Those are the useful things to leverage. So after being equipped with the right tool based on the metric system infrastructure, the next thing you need to do is to follow the right workflow to get everything done. I will explain this by giving a real case study from one of our customer, Red Infinity, who is one of the early adopter of data-driven process in China, and is a very famous game developer of many successful games. The name of the game we're working on is called The Lost Palace, which is a PND-like card battle game with free-to-play business model. Before adopting the data-driven process, the game was not performing well and was not quite successful and received quite negative feedback from the market. But the developers, they got no idea at that time, due to the limitation of the data they can get, and could not find the real answer behind the real reason behind this. So they turned to us, and we worked together to explore insight of their game to help them to find the real answer. So we started with setting up a KPI framework for them based on the benchmark of the game title, within which we have paid great attention to the engagement-related factors like retention rate, conversion rate, and detailed data about virtual expense. And then on the next release of their game application, they integrate with our SDK. We start to track the performance of all the key metrics on a real-time basis. And then for the data result collected, we So we give it an evaluation. We do a comparison with the benchmark of this type of game. And then we we'll leverage a set of analytic approach to target the real reason behind. And then we work with the findings, we work with the product team to work on the solutions to optimize their game in terms of game design and the gameplay mechanism. And then we went back to track the result and to testify if the solution really worked. until the results really meets the level of the benchmark. So I will give you an example of how we work on the data of the metrics. We take an example of the day one retention, which is one of the most important metrics to track during the initial stage of a game. A day one retention reflects the first time experience and impression of your game for the players, as well as the acceptance of the theme, content, visual quality, and RC, and everything. For the initial version of their game, the day one retention average value is far lower than the benchmark. So we dived in the detail of the data. We found that their day one retention value is performing very bad, but after day two, the data became going steady. So we assumed that something must be wrong with the new player initialization stage. Then we conducted a custom funnel to track the conversion path of the initial stage. We set up the event trigger point at each of the key steps along the initial stage. And soon we found where the problems are. At the finish of the second step, which means the completion of account sign up, there was a great drop-off rate of players, and we tested the game, and we found that for the domestic players, there are a frequent network connectivity failure, which caused very bad, which is what's quite annoying and caused the user experience not smooth. And then similar things happened for the fifth step. A significant dropping rate, and then we tested again. We found that these steps means the completion of the tutorial. At the last step of the tutorial message suddenly lost, which left the player the feeling of where to go next, and most of them choose to leave the game. So based on the findings, we and the product team, we work on the solutions for the enhancement. So we suggest them to move to a more stable IDC with a dedicated server for the domestic players, because they used to work in the North American market, but for domestic players, their overseas server will meet some unacceptable network connectivity. And then we suggest them to simplify and enhance the tutorial process, as well as polish the UI to gain more visual direction at the early stage. And we also give some other optimization suggestions and detail in terms of the theme and the core play user experience, as well as the art. So after ongoing optimization and testifications, the results turn out improved a lot and meet the high level of the benchmark, which prove the data-driven process really works. So to sum up, some takeaways from today's lecture. Data-driven is one of the key methods for you to stand out within today's crowded market. And to adopt a data-driven process, you need to adopt a good metric system, and then follow the right workflow. And remember, good analytics tool can really power you up. And this is about all of my presentation. And if any of you are interested in data analytics of mobile game or curious about the Chinese market, we can keep in touch and drop me email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibrahim. All right. Anybody out there want to throw up their KPIs and ask him if they're good or bad? No? Any questions? You guys are so shy. Come on. All right, Ibrahim. I'm sure that some people are going to come down and give you their business card and ask you a few things. They just don't want to do it in front of a crowd.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we'll switch out systems here and start again at 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.